The wind over the salt-teeth abyss is a living thing. It is the clan's oldest and most fickle god. The one that carves their cliff face Hominid carries the scent of both food and death. Elara, the clan's elder, stands on the offering ledge, a sliver of rock jutting into the vast, roaring emptiness. Her grey hair is a wild banner in the gale. In her gnarled hand, she holds a silver-scaled fish, its dead eyes staring into the churning grey sky. For a long moment, there is only the scream of the wind and the thunder of waves 1,000 feet below. Then, a shadow eclipses the weak sun. It does not fall, but glides, a vast shape of leather and bone that resolves into the form of a Pteranodon. Its wingspan is wider than 3 hunters lying end to end. A living sail that masters the tempest. It circles once. Its long, toothless beak pointed, its magnificent head crushed a rudder in the wind. It knows the ritual. These early humans and the Sky Riders have practiced this fragile symbiosis for generations. The creature lands on the ledge with an unnerving delicacy for its size, its clawed feet finding purchase on the familiar stone. Its eyes, ancient and amber, fix on Elara, not with warmth, but with a transcational intelligence. She extends the fish. The great head darts forward, and the offering is gone in a single, clean snap of its carrot and no USB. It wallows, then lifts its head and unleashes a rattling, deep-throated cry that cuts through the wind. It is the all-clear signal, a promise that the lower cliff pads are free of the climbing Deinonychus pack, and that the horizon holds no sign of the great sea tyrants. This is the pact. The clan provides the difficult-to-catch deep-water fish, and the Sky Riders provide the eyes and a formidable aerial defense. Their very existence is built upon this trust, a core tenet of their unique survival skills. A sharp crunch of stone on stone announces Kale. He stands behind Elara, young, powerful, his face a mask of impatient ambition. He carries a spear tipped with a shard of obsidian, a weapon he never seems to set down. You pray to a base, old mother, he says, his voice a low growl that barely carries over the wind. The Pteranodon, its duty done, launches itself back into the abyss, a silent, powerful departure. Elara does not turn. I do not pray, she answers, her gaze following the creature. I burden. It is the way of our ancestors. Kale steps beside her, his shadow falling long and sharp. Ancestors who were content to beg. They are allies. You say. I say they are tools we do not control. What happens when they decide the fish is not enough? When they simply leave? He gestures to the younger hunters gathered in the mouth of the nearest cave. Their eyes on him. We have the strength to take what we need. Their nests are only a day's climb away. And they, raised by our hand, would create a servant, not an ally. A weapon that is truly ours. The words hang in the air, a desecration of the sacred pact. This is the whisper that has been poisoning the clan for moons. A dangerous new idea that puts the future of their entire prehistoric life on the edge of a blade. The betrayal happens under the cloak of a moonless pre-dawn. Kale does not ask for permission. He commands, he arms 3 of his strongest hunters. Their faces grim with a mix of fear and fervor. Begin the perilous climb to the high roosts. The path is a treacherous network of handholds and crumbling ledges that their human ancestors had marked as forbidden. Every gust of wind threatens to peel them from the rock and cast them into the churning darkness. They move with the desperate silence of thieves, their leather-wrapped feet finding purchase where none seems to exist. When they reach the nesting grounds, the air is thick with the musky scent of the colony and the soft, sleeping chirps of the great creatures. The Pteranodon nests are huddled in shallow depressions, their great wings folded like broken umbrellas. It is a place of profound peace, a sacred space in their harsh prehistoric world. Kale's chosen hunter, a weary man named Rory C., slips toward the nearest nest. The female shifts in her sleep, a low rumble in her throat. Rory C. freezes, a statue of terror, before inching forward again. His hands, slick with sweat, Close around two of the large, leathery eggs. They are warm with life. For a heart-stopping moment, he holds the future of the clan in his grasp, or its damnation. He retreats, passing the eggs to Kale, who secures them in a sling of woven hide. The act is done. The taboo is broken. Their retreat is affronted. Clumsy scramble, the sanctity of their mission dissolving into pure survival. The sun's first rays are met not by the familiar calls of their sky guardians, but by a single, piercing shriek of utter violation. It is a sound of discovery and rage. It is answered by another, dead 100 more. A cacophony of fury that shakes the very cliffs. The clan rushes from their caves to see the sky fill with a storm of beating wings. The Pteranodons are a whirlwind of chaos. Their calls no longer signals of safety but screams of pure hatred directed at the human dwellings below. Then, as one, they turn. They abandon the cliffs, their ancestral home, flying out over the endless ocean until they are specks. And then nothing, an absolute, terrifying silence descends. The ever-present wind now sounds hollow, empty. The sky is naked. Elara stands on the offering ledge, her face a mask of stone, her gaze fixed on the vacant horizon. Kale approaches, holding the stolen eggs, his expression a mix of triumph and uncertainty. "We are masters now," he declares, but his voice lacks conviction. Before Elara can answer, a young scout scrambles up the main path, his face pale with terror. "The tracks, below the lower ridge," he gasps, pointing down into the abyss. "Dozens of them, fresh." He holds up a piece of shale, scratched deep into its surface as the unmistakable, three-toned print of a raptor, and next to it, a single, deep gouge, the mark of the disembowelling sickle claw. Without the Pteranodon's warning cries, the Deinonychus pack had crept up the cliffs, unheard and unseen. The screaming silence of the roost has been replaced by the silent promise of 100 rising claws. A dark chapter of their hominid history is about to be written in blood. The first Deinonychus comes over the lip of the main path not with a roar, but with a horrifying, bird-like hiss. It is a blur of mottled green and brown, a perfectly engineered killing machine moving with an intelligent speed that defies its size. Its eyes, cold and reptilian, lock on to the nearest hunter. Before a warning cry can be fully raised, the raptor leaps, its powerful legs launching it forward. The infamous sickle claw on its inner toe, held high like a sacrificial dagger, flashes down. The man screams, a wet, choked sound, and the pack surges forward. This is not a hunt. It is an extermination. The clan's defenses, hastily assembled barricades of rock and sharpened bone, crumble before the onslaught. Their spears, products of a desperate primitive technology, are swatted aside by powerful forelimbs. Kale stands frozen for a single, fatal heartbeat. In his arms, he still clutches the sling holding the stolen eggs, the catalyst for this nightmare. A raptor lunges at a child cowering near him. The sight shatters his paralysis. With a roar of pure, undiluted guilt, he shoves the child aside and meets the creature's charge. Not with a spear, but with his own body. He smashes the beast with the weight of the sling, and the precious eggs shatter against its scaly hide, their potential life smearing across the instrument of their theft. The Deinonychus rips into him, but Kale's sacrifice buys the precious seconds the others need. The battle becomes a chaotic, swirling melee in the mouth of the main cave. A desperate stand by a species armed with little more than courage and the dawning horror of their mistake. While the dinosaur battle rages, Elara walks out onto the offering ledge. She is old, and the wind whips at her, threatening to tear her from the stone. The fighting is a backdrop of screams and hisses behind her. She ignores it. Her audience is the empty sky. In her hands, she holds not a fish, but the clan's most sacred relic, the fossilized talon of a Pteranodon ancestor, found generations ago. It is their link to the Sky Riders, a symbol of the pact, with a shard of flint. She slices open her own palm, letting her blood, the blood of her Homo sapiens kin, well up and coat the ancient talon, she holds it aloft, a crimson offering to the uncaring expanse. Her voice is not a plea, but a raw, croaking chant. The words of the old pact, a confession of guilt, an appeal not for mercy, but for balance to be restored. As the last line of hunters begins to buckle, a shadow falls over the cliff, then another, and another. Behave! Rattling cry splits the air, a sound of righteous fury. The Pteranodons have returned. They dive not as allies, but as an avalanche of vengeful wings and beaks. They plummet from the sky, slamming into the Deinonychus pack with devastating force. Their powerful beaks, designed for snatching fish, become lethal lances, punching through reptilian hide. They harry. They tear. They lift smaller raptors into the air only to drop them, broken, onto the rocks below. The pact, designed for terrestrial combat, has no defense against this aerial assault. Their coordination shatters. They break and flee, scrambling back down the cliffs into the abyss from which they came. The battle is over. The survivors of the sky talon stand amidst their dead, watching as the great creatures circle overhead, their cries no longer angry, but filled with a deep, echoing sorrow. The pact is not restored. It has been broken and remade, forged anew in blood and sacrifice. The silence that follows is heavier than the wind. On the cliffs, the living count the dead, and the cost of ambition is written in the blood of their kin. The Pteranodons do not land on the offering ledge, but circle high above. Their presence a constant, watchful reminder of a trust that must be re-earned. Generation by generation, this single, brutal lesson in humility becomes the bedrock of their future. A story told not in triumph, but in hushed, cautionary tones. It is a defining moment in their evolution documentary. An unrecorded chapter where ancient humans learned that the great beasts of this prehistoric life were not obstacles to be conquered or tools to be enslaved, but forces of nature to be understood. How many clans perished in fire and claw before our ancestors grasped this fundamental truth? How many arrogant hands reached for power and found only their own extinction, their bones scattered among those of the true titans? The path to mastering an ancient world was not paved with dominance, but with the hard-won wisdom that true strength lies not in breaking the world to your will, but in finding your fragile place within it. In the chronicles of a world that should not have been, survival is the only scripture. But in the humid jungles to the south, a new sound begins to echo, not of claw or tooth, but of metal striking stone,